Sling Blade. Thesis essay by Justin Grudlicks. In response to the question of whether Carl Childers should be found justifiable or not for the murder he committed, simply cannot be passed off as correct or in any other way than wrong. There's no way to ever consider that one man or woman has the right to purposely make another individual lose their life due to certain emotions directed toward them. Nonetheless, Childers' actions can be viewed as justifiable when one thinks about all the events that led up to this killing. Due to a lack of education and no real parenting structure, he was pretty much forced to live a depressing life, and to add to the events, he slept outside most of his childhood days in a shed, not even in the proper warmth of a house or a bed or anything. He randomly got the scraps of bread that were left over after dinner time. At 12 years of age, Carl committed a murder, which was unfortunately the first out of 2 murders that he would later commit in his life. He witnessed his mother, what he thought was getting raped, when in turn she was having sexual intercourse with her new lover, not her husband, and was enjoying it. He quickly made the decision, which he thought was best at the time, to kill the guy for what he thought was right, and his mom thereafter for cheating. 25 years after staying in a state institution, he was released for being found healthy to leave through the 2 front doors into a world that was shining bright. For all he had seen was through the bars of a window. He never went outside before. He had left with just a few dollars the state institution gave him, and a stack of books, which one included the Bible, which was read often. After meeting a boy named Frank when he had left, he didn't know how much his life would change thereafter. Carl walked back to the boy's house with him, and finding interest in what they would talk about. Being somebody that's easy to get along with, Frank introduced Carl to his mother as his friend right away with no hesitation. As time went on, he found out to be a pretty nice, gentle, caring man who really wouldn't hurt anybody. He was told to stay with the boy and live in their garage with them. He quickly became a family friend and would get made homemade biscuits and have meals made just for him. As fate would have it, Carl's fortune actually began to change. He was becoming close friends with Frank, having new family friends, working, making money, getting cared for. He was seemingly doing all right for himself. Although not everything would stay perfect when Doyle Hargraves came along, which is the boyfriend of Linda, which is Frank's mother. He drank heavily, and he would be able to uncontrollably not make any notion for his attempts of anger. He couldn't control himself when he wasn't sober. He didn't care for Frank whatsoever, and would tell him, "Only speak if you're spoken to, boy." He would abuse Linda by treating her very poorly and disrespectfully by saying things to her like, "You know better than to talk to me like that when I'm hurting, Linda. Don't make me knock the piss out of you." He loves her. He really does. But he never holds up and stays to his old cruel self, shriveling up from the beer bottles he's been collecting upon his chest. To these events and everything Carl has been going through in his life, he doesn't think fully out about everything correctly and moves right to what he thinks is best next. He was only thinking about what would be best for both Frank and Linda and didn't want to see him get hurt no more by Doyle. Carl then decided to sharpen a lawn mowing blade, decided to take the ultimate action which he thought would be best, to annihilate Doyle Hargraves from the picture so that Frank and Linda could no longer be harmed by them. He was then standing next to Doyle when he had walked through the front door, and Doyle looked up to him and said, "Boy, what you doing with that?" Carl replied, "I reckon I'm gonna kill you with it, you son bitch." He whacked him, bam, bam, 2 times and nearly split his head, killing him with the second hit right away. He then went over to the phone and dialed 911 and called the police right away and told them that he had killed Doyle Hargraves and released the address in which they could find him sitting down in the kitchen. Thinking about the whole situation that had happened on the series of events, Frank and Linda were unsafe. Doyle was a harm. He thought that he was making the best move, that he could actually virtually give their freedom back to Frank and Linda for being able to live their lives in happiness and fare free again. This is purely what Carl thought was right in his mind and best, and not for the spite of killing anyone. He didn't think of killing anyone for any reason. He even said, "I reckon I got no reason to kill no one." Going through his life, he wasn't a crazy man going around killing anyone for any anonymous reason whatsoever. He just thought that he was fighting for the protection in which they deserved. Although Carl is mentally retarded, he does think differently about the things and the ways that things should get taken care of. He is still a human being with full capabilities, which he has shown. He does know the difference between right and wrong by not stealing, working for his money, and being an honest man. Helping out Frank from the moment he met him as a boy and walking with him, living close to him and protecting him as a father figure, which Frank never received, therefore goes to show, just a few examples, that he's a good man. He called 911 right away and didn't hide anything. All of what happened through Carl's life that led up to the point of murder was very complicated and trying. He made his best efforts in life and completed a huge amount and went with his head lifted high up, making huge differences and impacting lives just by simply trying to be who he was, which is truly magnificent, as which was proven. Carl wasn't insane and only thought differently than everyone else. I do feel a sense of justification in the murder of Doyle Hargraves, which was forever impact Frank and Linda's life in anonymous ways.